Have you ever felt like you're trapped in a toxic family dynamic, constantly giving, yet never feeling truly seen or valued? It's exhausting, draining, and can make you question your worth. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to be this way. In fact, Stoicism offers us a powerful way to reclaim our peace, even when surrounded by chaos. By focusing on what we can control, letting go of harmful attachments, and practicing emotional detachment, we can find calm in the storm. Stoic principles teach us that peace isn't dependent on others, it's a state we cultivate from within. So, if you've ever wondered how to break free from the cycle of toxic relationships, this video is for you. Together, we'll explore how Stoicism can help you build resilience, protect your mental health, and regain control over your life. Before we begin, I would appreciate it if you liked the video, so that you can help me continue spreading Stoic philosophy. If you haven't subscribed yet, I highly recommend you do so and activate the bell so you don't miss any future videos on Stoicism. Dealing with toxic family members can leave you feeling drained and stuck. But what if letting go could be the key to reclaiming your peace? In this video, we'll explore 7 powerful reasons why releasing toxic family dynamics can restore your inner calm and help you build healthier relationships. Reason number 1. The impact of toxic family dynamics on your mental health. Toxic family dynamics can be a silent destroyer of our mental health. Imagine this. You've just had a long, tiring day at work, and the last thing you want is to walk into a household filled with negativity, judgment, and unresolved tension. Yet somehow, you're still expected to be the emotional anchor for everyone else. You try to give, to help, but no matter how much you invest, the emotional toll it takes on you is overwhelming. You end up feeling drained, hurt, and sometimes even conflicted, torn between family loyalty and the need to protect your own peace. Now, imagine this happening repeatedly. Over time, this emotional burden begins to seep into other parts of your life. It impacts your ability to sleep, your performance at work, even your self-esteem. When you're constantly being put down or ignored by people who should have your back, it's hard not to internalize those negative feelings. You start questioning your worth, doubting your decisions, and feeling like you're not enough. But this cycle doesn't just affect your emotions. It wears down your spirit. The energy you put into these relationships slowly erodes your peace of mind. But here's the truth. You don't have to let this dictate your happiness. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what is within our control and to detach from things that harm us emotionally. This doesn't mean cutting ties with family entirely, but rather learning to set boundaries, recognizing when to step back, and embracing the power of emotional resilience. When we look at Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, he constantly reminded himself that external circumstances, like the negative actions of others, should not dictate his inner peace. In his personal reflections, he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This simple idea holds the key to breaking free from toxic cycles. We may not be able to change how others behave, but we do have the power to change how we respond. And that response, rooted in Stoic wisdom, can help us protect our mental health. The key is emotional detachment, not in the sense of coldness, but in recognizing when to stop investing energy in someone else's negativity. We often feel emotionally obligated to family, especially when we've been taught that family loyalty means sacrificing our own well-being. But Stoicism teaches us that true loyalty to ourselves comes from protecting our inner peace, even if it means distancing ourselves from toxic behavior. Take a moment and think about it. When was the last time you felt truly at peace after a family gathering? Did it feel more like a battle than a celebration? In those moments, ask yourself, what's more important? Pleasing others at the cost of your emotional well-being, or honoring yourself and maintaining your peace? In these situations, it's important to remember that it's okay to protect your mental space. Stoic philosophers didn't shy away from the hard truths about relationships. They recognize that self-care isn't selfish, it's necessary for maintaining a sense of balance. As Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." You have the power to choose how you react, even in the most difficult family dynamics. By using Stoic techniques, you can approach these situations with resilience and calm, rather than sinking into the emotional chaos others may try to drag you into. Incorporating Stoic principles into your everyday life, like practicing mindfulness, focusing on your own actions, and learning to let go of control, can help you build the mental strength needed to deal with toxic family relationships. Over time, this practice will allow you to safeguard your peace while maintaining healthier connections, where you are no longer emotionally drained by people who do not value you. It's painful, isn't it, when you keep giving, and yet they take. But just remember, you have the power to change your response. By incorporating Stoic practices, you can regain control and restore peace to your life. Reason number 2, Stoic acceptance, understanding what you can control. When it comes to toxic relationships, whether with family, friends, or colleagues, it's easy to fall into the trap of wanting to change others. We want to fix their behavior, change their attitudes, or make them understand how their actions affect us. But here's the truth. No matter how hard we try, we cannot control how others behave. This is where the Stoic principle of focusing only on what we can control comes into play, and it's a game changer. The Stoics believed that the only thing we truly have control over is our own thoughts, actions, and reactions. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This powerful quote reminds us that while we cannot dictate the actions of others, we can choose how we respond. And it's in this choice, this power over our own reactions, that we find peace. Imagine for a moment a situation where you've been hurt by a toxic family member. They might have said something hurtful, ignored your boundaries, or made you feel unappreciated. Naturally, your first instinct is to feel anger, frustration, or sadness. But here's where the Stoic shift happens. Instead of focusing on changing their behavior or demanding an apology, you focus on yourself, on how you choose to respond to the situation. This doesn't mean you suppress your feelings or pretend nothing happened. It means you choose not to let their actions define your emotional state. By practicing acceptance, you free yourself from the need to control others, and in doing so, reclaim your peace. You can acknowledge your feelings, whether it's hurt, anger, or disappointment, but then let them go, recognizing that holding on to these emotions only gives the other person power over your peace of mind. Real-life situations are filled with examples of how focusing on what we can control leads to inner peace. Think about a work situation where a colleague constantly undermines your ideas or belittles your contributions. If you focus on trying to change their behavior, you'll only become frustrated and stressed. But if you shift your focus to your own reactions, how you maintain your integrity, how you choose to communicate with them, you begin to take back control. You may not change them, but you can remain calm, professional, and centered in your response. Over time, this will not only improve your peace of mind, but it can also shift the dynamic in the relationship itself. Another example could be in family dynamics. Perhaps a family member continually dismisses your opinions or makes you feel small. Instead of engaging in endless arguments or trying to prove yourself right, you could practice Stoic acceptance. You don't need their approval or validation. You can choose to respect your boundaries, calmly express your feelings, and then let go of the need for their acceptance. The key here is understanding that their actions are not a reflection of your worth. Your peace comes from how you view the situation, not from how they treat you. The Stoics teach us that external circumstances, whether they are the behavior of others, the challenges we face, or the disappointments we encounter, are outside of our control. What is within our control, however, is our reaction to those circumstances. By practicing this form of emotional detachment, we can preserve our peace and avoid being dragged into the turmoil of others' behavior. When you accept that you can only control yourself, it's like lifting a heavy burden from your shoulders. You no longer have to struggle against the wind. Instead, you can learn to sail with it. Stoic acceptance is not about being passive or indifferent. It's about choosing how we engage with the world in a way that protects our inner peace. Remember, you can't control how others behave, but you can control your responses. By practicing this Stoic principle, you'll begin to notice a shift in your inner world. You'll find that the things that once triggered you, whether it's criticism, negativity, or even outright hostility, no longer have the same power over you. And with time, you'll discover a deep sense of peace that comes from knowing that your emotional well-being is in your hands, not anyone else's. We cannot control their actions, but we can control how we respond. By focusing on what we can control, we reclaim our peace and our power. Reason number 3, breaking free from the cycle of people-pleasing. People-pleasing is something that many of us do, often without even realizing it. We go out of our way to make others happy, to seek approval, to avoid conflict. But in the process, we end up losing a little piece of ourselves. When it comes to toxic family members, this tendency to constantly seek approval can drain us emotionally and mentally, leaving us feeling exhausted, unappreciated, and even resentful. Imagine constantly bending over backward to meet the expectations of a family member who never seems satisfied. You try to please them, do things their way, but no matter what you do, it's never enough. Over time, this cycle becomes a form of self-sabotage. Instead of honoring your own needs, desires, and boundaries, you're trapped in a loop of people-pleasing, giving all your energy to others while neglecting yourself. The emotional toll of this is immense. People-pleasers often feel like they're constantly on edge, worrying about what others think, whether they're meeting expectations, and whether they're truly loved or accepted. They live in fear of rejection or conflict, so they suppress their own desires, emotions, and needs to keep the peace, even when doing so harms their mental health. But here's the truth. People-pleasing is not a path to true peace or fulfillment. In fact, it's a form of self-sabotage. When you constantly seek approval from others, especially in toxic relationships, you're sacrificing your own well-being and peace of mind. You're giving away your power, letting others dictate your emotional state, and failing to honor yourself. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This powerful quote reminds us that freedom comes from within, and the first step toward true freedom is self-mastery. Self-mastery means taking control of your own actions, thoughts, and emotions, not being swayed by the approval of others. It means learning to say no when necessary, setting boundaries, and not allowing others to dictate your worth. In the context of toxic family dynamics, this means breaking free from the need to please others, especially when it comes at the expense of your own happiness. It means recognizing that you are worthy of respect and love, regardless of whether others approve of your choices. When you stop seeking constant validation, you start to reclaim your emotional freedom and power. So, how can you break free from this cycle of people-pleasing? Here are a few practical tips. Number 1, set clear boundaries. Start by setting clear and healthy boundaries with toxic family members. Boundaries are essential for protecting your emotional well-being. You don't have to explain or justify your boundaries to anyone. Simply state them calmly and assertively. For example, if a family member constantly demands your time and energy, let them know that you need time for yourself and can't always be available. Saying no without guilt is a key part of self-mastery. Number 2, recognize your own worth. People-pleasers often struggle with self-esteem and self-worth. They believe that their value is tied to how much they do for others. The truth is, your worth is not defined by your ability to please others. Start by acknowledging your own strengths, needs, and desires. Remind yourself that you deserve love and respect without having to earn it by sacrificing yourself. Number 3, practice self-care. Make time for activities that nourish your body and soul. Whether it's exercising, meditating, journaling, or simply spending time doing something you love, self-care is essential for breaking free from people-pleasing. When you take care of yourself, you build your inner strength and resilience, making it easier to say no when necessary and honor your own needs. Number 4, develop emotional detachment. One of the key Stoic practices is emotional detachment, learning not to be overly attached to the opinions and actions of others. This doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It means you stop letting their behavior determine your emotional state. If someone in your family criticizes you or makes you feel bad, remind yourself that their opinion does not define who you are. Practice observing your emotions without reacting immediately and learn to detach from the need for approval. Number 5, embrace the power of no. The ability to say no is one of the most empowering tools for breaking the people-pleasing cycle. When you say no, you are prioritizing yourself and your well-being. It's okay to say no without feeling guilty. Remember, your time, energy, and emotions are valuable, and you have the right to protect them. Saying no is a powerful form of self-respect. Number 6, surround yourself with supportive people. Finally, surround yourself with people who respect your boundaries and honor your needs. This will make it easier for you to break free from toxic family dynamics and embrace your true self. Seek out friends, mentors, or support groups who encourage your growth and understand your journey. Breaking free from the cycle of people-pleasing takes time and practice, but it's worth it. By mastering yourself and letting go of the need for constant approval, you will find greater peace, freedom, and self-respect. As you let go of toxic family dynamics, you open the door to a healthier, more fulfilling life. You have the power to say no without guilt. Reclaim your freedom and start living life on your own terms. Reason number 4, the power of boundaries, protecting your peace. Setting boundaries is one of the most powerful tools we have for maintaining our peace of mind, especially when dealing with toxic family members. Boundaries are not about creating distance for the sake of being distant. They are about protecting your emotional, mental, and even physical well-being. In toxic family dynamics, where emotional manipulation or constant stress can wear you down, boundaries act as a safeguard, ensuring that you remain true to yourself while still maintaining relationships on your own terms. Stoicism teaches us the importance of self-respect, wisdom, and control over our actions. According to Marcus Aurelius, you have power over your mind, not outside events. This Stoic principle emphasizes that we may not always be able to control the behavior of others, especially in family relationships, but we have complete control over how we respond and how we allow others to treat us. Setting boundaries is one of the clearest ways to exercise that control. Now let's talk about why boundaries are important. When it comes to toxic family members, there's often a fine line between maintaining family ties and losing your sense of self. Without boundaries, we can fall into the trap of people-pleasing, trying to meet the endless demands of others while neglecting our own emotional needs. Over time, this can lead to burnout, resentment, and a loss of peace. Boundaries are necessary because they help us preserve our inner calm and emotional stability. They allow us to say, "This is what I will tolerate, and this is what I won't." This is not about being harsh or unloving. It's about respecting ourselves enough to protect our emotional resources. Now, let's talk about Stoicism and boundaries. Stoicism encourages us to live in harmony with our values and principles, regardless of the external circumstances. By setting boundaries, we align our actions with these values, particularly the values of self-respect and wisdom. In toxic family dynamics, it's easy to be drawn into drama or conflict, but Stoic principles guide us to detach from unnecessary emotional turmoil. For example, if a family member consistently disrespects your time or personal space, Stoicism would encourage you to respond with calm wisdom and assert your need for space without guilt. As Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Setting a boundary is not about controlling others, it's about taking control of your own peace and response. Now, let's talk about practical advice for setting boundaries. Establishing boundaries is crucial for protecting your peace and staying true to yourself. Setting boundaries can be challenging, especially with family members who may be used to overstepping them. However, the process doesn't have to be confrontational. Boundaries can be set with kindness, self-respect, and a firm commitment to protecting your peace. Here are some practical tips for setting boundaries with toxic family members. Number 1. Know your limits. Before you can set boundaries, you must first understand your own emotional limits. What behaviors make you feel drained, stressed, or disrespected? Is it a family member's constant negativity? Their tendency to interrupt or dismiss your feelings? Knowing what you can and cannot tolerate will help you set clear boundaries. Number 2, communicate clearly and assertively. Once you're clear on your limits, it's essential to communicate them clearly to your family members. Avoid being vague or indirect. A Stoic approach to this is direct, but not hostile. For instance, if a family member is always calling you late at night, you can say, "I need to rest at night, so I won't be answering calls after 9 p.m. I hope you understand." Number 3, be consistent. Setting a boundary is only effective if you enforce it consistently. If you set a limit on how much time you'll spend with a toxic family member, make sure you stick to it. If you bend the rule once, you may find that they push the boundary again. Stoicism teaches us discipline and consistency, especially when it comes to protecting our peace. Number 4, stay calm and composed. When enforcing boundaries, it's important to stay calm and composed. The Stoic practice of emotional detachment allows us to observe a situation without getting caught up in it. For example, if a family member becomes upset when you set a boundary, remain calm and acknowledge their feelings without becoming defensive or angry. "I understand that this is difficult for you, but this is something I need to do for my well-being." Number 5, practice self-compassion. Setting boundaries can be tough, especially if you're used to pleasing others. However, remember that self-respect is not selfish. You are not obligated to sacrifice your peace for others. Practicing self-compassion means being kind to yourself as you navigate these challenging conversations. Remind yourself that you are worthy of respect, love, and peace. Number 6, accept that not everyone will understand. Not everyone will appreciate or respect your boundaries right away, especially toxic family members who are used to having control. Stoicism teaches us to accept what we cannot change. You cannot control how others react to your boundaries, but you can control your own response. Don't take it personally if a family member is upset or tries to push back against your boundaries. Your peace is worth the effort. In conclusion, setting boundaries is a vital practice for protecting your peace, especially when dealing with toxic family members. By following Stoic principles, we can approach boundary setting with clarity, kindness, and a deep sense of self-respect. Boundaries are not walls. They are safeguards for your peace. They help you maintain your sense of self in a world that often demands more than we have to give. Remember, your peace is not negotiable. You have the right to set boundaries and protect your emotional well-being. Practice these boundaries consistently, and you'll start to reclaim the peace and inner calm that Stoicism promises. Reason number 5, choosing your circle. The importance of supportive relationships. The people we choose to spend our time with have a profound impact on our emotional and mental well-being. In toxic family dynamics, the relationships we hold dear or feel obligated to maintain can often leave us feeling drained, unsupported, or emotionally depleted. Stoicism teaches us that the company we keep is more than just a reflection of who we are. It can shape our mindset, our actions, and ultimately, our happiness. By carefully selecting the individuals we allow into our lives, we take an important step toward creating a healthier, more peaceful existence. Let's look at the impact of our circle. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "You are a product of your thoughts, but also of the company you keep." This profound statement reminds us that our relationships play a critical role in shaping who we become. We can often find ourselves, without realizing it, absorbing the behaviors, attitudes, and mindsets of those around us. If those people are negative, toxic, or emotionally draining, their influence can slowly erode our sense of peace and joy. On the other hand, supportive, encouraging relationships can uplift us, fostering emotional growth and resilience. They offer a safe space where we can be ourselves, free of judgment, and experience genuine connection. These relationships encourage us to be better versions of ourselves, and they contribute to a mindset of calm, hope, and positivity. Let's explore the Stoic view of relationships. Stoicism teaches us the importance of being mindful of the people we spend time with. Marcus Aurelius emphasized the idea that we should choose our company wisely, as it can either support or hinder our emotional and mental growth. In his meditations, he wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." The Stoics were not against social interaction or relationships, but advocated for surrounding ourselves with those who bring out the best in us. The core of Stoic thinking is to engage in relationships where we can grow in virtue and wisdom. Toxic family members or anyone who fosters negativity can disturb this balance, making it essential to distance ourselves from them in favor of those who support our personal growth. Let's talk about why supportive relationships matter, how the people in your life can either lift you up or hold you back. Our relationships have a profound impact on our mindset. The people around us influence how we view the world, ourselves, and the challenges we face. When surrounded by negativity, we may begin to adopt a pessimistic view of life, constantly expecting the worst and doubting our abilities to overcome obstacles. On the flip side, being surrounded by uplifting people who believe in us, encourage us, and challenge us in healthy ways helps us develop a more positive and resilient mindset. Supportive relationships nurture our self-worth. They remind us of our value even in difficult times. They offer encouragement when we feel weak, help us see the bigger picture, and provide strength when we feel like giving up. For example, in toxic family relationships, we often seek validation and approval. But in a supportive circle, we learn to validate ourselves, strengthening our emotional resilience. Now let's discuss cultivating supportive friendships. How surrounding yourself with the right people can make all the difference in your journey towards peace and growth. Creating an emotionally healthy circle requires intentionality. It's not about having a large group of friends, but about fostering deep, meaningful connections with those who truly have our best interests at heart. Here are some actionable steps to help cultivate a supportive circle. Number 1. Evaluate current relationships. Begin by taking an honest look at the relationships in your life. Are there any individuals who consistently drain your energy, make you feel small, or bring negativity into your world? It might be time to distance yourself from them or redefine the boundaries of those relationships. Stoicism teaches us that we are not obligated to maintain harmful relationships, especially when they interfere with our inner peace. Number 2, seek out positive, like-minded individuals. Look for individuals who share your values, who inspire you to grow, and who encourage you to be the best version of yourself. Surround yourself with those who challenge you to think differently, broaden your perspective, and support your goals. These relationships provide stability, encouragement, and a sense of belonging. Number 3, Invest in meaningful connections. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. Invest in friendships that offer mutual respect, support, and understanding. Show up for your friends just as you want them to show up for you. True friendships are built on trust and consistency, not convenience or expectation. Number 4, let go of toxicity. If you're holding on to relationships out of obligation or guilt, it might be time to let go. Stoicism teaches us to accept that we cannot control others, but we can control who we allow into our lives. If a relationship is causing you harm, it's okay to step back. Letting go isn't an act of cruelty, it's an act of self-respect. Number 5, focus on self-awareness. Being aware of our own emotions and triggers is key to building healthier relationships. Take the time to reflect on your emotional needs, boundaries, and the kind of energy you want in your life. This self-awareness helps you attract and nurture relationships that align with your values. Let's talk about Stoicism and personal growth, how these timeless principles can help you build resilience and become stronger through life's challenges. Ultimately, the Stoic approach to relationships encourages us to maintain our peace by surrounding ourselves with people who uplift us, inspire us, and challenge us to become better. By doing so, we create a circle that supports our personal growth and allows us to live with greater clarity, purpose, and emotional balance. The company we keep directly influences the way we see ourselves and the world around us. By choosing supportive relationships, we open ourselves to deeper connections, emotional resilience, and greater happiness. Just as Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts," so too does the happiness of your life depend on the quality of the people you allow into it. Reason number 6, the freedom of letting go, embracing self-worth. Letting go of toxic family members can feel like an act of defiance, a decision that stirs up guilt, confusion, or even shame. But in reality, letting go isn't about rejecting someone. It's about reclaiming your peace, your sense of self-worth, and your right to live without emotional burdens. It's about finding the courage to break free from relationships that consistently hurt, undermine, or drain you. As Marcus Aurelius wisely stated, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." The true freedom lies not in retaliation or bitterness, but in choosing peace over conflict, health over toxicity, and self-respect over guilt. Now, let's talk about the power of letting go. Letting go of toxic family members can be one of the most liberating acts of self-care. It may seem difficult at first, especially when family ties are supposed to be strong and unconditional. Yet, in toxic relationships, the burden of unhealthy dynamics often leads to feelings of inadequacy, resentment, and emotional exhaustion. It's a form of emotional slavery, where your peace depends on the whims and actions of others. To truly heal, it's essential to realize that your self-worth is not tied to the approval or love of others, no matter how deeply embedded these relationships may be. Choosing to let go is not about abandoning them or giving up on your loved ones. Rather, it's about releasing their toxic influence over your life and emotional well-being. It's about setting boundaries that honor your inner peace and well-being. Letting go isn't about hate, it's about reclaiming your peace. Letting go doesn't mean you hate them. It doesn't mean you've given up on them or that you've become cold-hearted. Instead, it means you've made the decision to stop tolerating behavior that harms your mental and emotional health. It's about choosing yourself over staying in an environment where your energy is consistently drained. This can be especially challenging when it comes to family. Many of us feel an inherent responsibility to keep family ties strong, to fight for those connections, or to be the peacemaker. But in doing so, we often sacrifice our own happiness. When family members exhibit toxic behaviors, we might feel obligated to endure, hoping things will change, or wishing for love that's never reciprocated. But remember, you can still love from a distance. Loving from a distance means recognizing that their issues are not yours to carry. You can wish them well, but you don't have to carry their burden. By stepping away, you reclaim your emotional freedom, allowing space for self-love, healing, and growth. Let's talk about rebuilding self-worth. One of the most significant aspects of letting go is the restoration of your own self-worth. Toxic relationships often strip us of our confidence, making us feel undeserving of love, happiness, or peace. When we constantly seek approval or validation from toxic family members, we place our worth in their hands. This makes us vulnerable to manipulation and emotional harm. To reclaim your self-worth, start by accepting that you are worthy of peace, respect, and happiness. Self-worth is not something that can be given or taken away by others. It is intrinsic, and it must come from within. Here are some practical ways to rebuild and protect your self-worth as you emotionally detach from toxic family members. Number 1, set clear boundaries. Boundaries are essential when letting go of toxic relationships. Boundaries protect your peace, your mental health, and your emotional space. They are not walls to keep others out, but safeguards that preserve your well-being. Setting boundaries means clearly communicating what is and isn't acceptable and being consistent in enforcing them. It's okay to say no, to take space, and to walk away when necessary. Boundaries are a form of self-respect, and they allow you to protect your emotional energy. Number 2, shift your focus to self-care. When you're constantly dealing with toxic family members, it's easy to forget about your own needs. Practice self-care by prioritizing your physical, mental, and emotional health. Take time for activities that recharge and restore you, whether that's spending time in nature, engaging in hobbies, or simply resting. Self-care helps you reconnect with your sense of worth and reminds you that you are deserving of love, kindness, and peace. Number 3, let go of guilt. Often, guilt is the main barrier that keeps us tied to toxic relationships. We feel guilty for distancing ourselves from family members, believing that we're abandoning them or being selfish. But remember, choosing your peace is not selfish, it's necessary. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and taking care of your emotional well-being is vital for your health. The guilt will lessen over time as you see the positive effects of distancing yourself from harmful influences. Number 4, build emotional resilience. Emotional resilience is the ability to adapt and bounce back from life's challenges. Letting go of toxic relationships will test your emotional strength, but with practice, you can learn to detach emotionally and respond with calmness and clarity. When you feel triggered or upset by their actions, take a moment to pause, breathe, and ask yourself how you can respond from a place of inner peace rather than reacting impulsively. Building emotional resilience takes time, but the effort will strengthen your sense of self-worth and equip you to navigate future challenges. Number 5, surround yourself with supportive people. As you let go of toxic relationships, make room for connections that lift you up. Surround yourself with people who truly care about your well-being, who encourage you to grow, and who help you become the best version of yourself. These relationships will provide the support you need to rebuild your confidence and sense of worth. Marcus Aurelius's wisdom on revenge. Marcus Aurelius's quote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy," speaks volumes in the context of toxic family relationships. Often, we may feel justified in retaliating or proving our worth to those who have hurt us. But Stoicism teaches us that the true path to peace is through non-reactivity and self-mastery. Instead of sinking to their level or becoming consumed with anger, choose to rise above. By letting go, you demonstrate strength, wisdom, and emotional maturity, leaving behind the toxic cycle of drama and hurt. Letting go of toxic family members is not an act of hate, but an act of self-love and self-respect. It's about choosing your peace over perpetual emotional turmoil. In doing so, you free yourself from the chains of negativity and reclaim your power, your worth, and your happiness. As you release what no longer serves you, remember that your emotional freedom is priceless. You deserve to live a life filled with peace, joy, and healthy relationships. Letting go is the first step toward embracing the person you were always meant to be. Reason number 7, finding peace within. The Stoic practice of acceptance and detachment. When you're caught in the turmoil of toxic family dynamics, it can feel like you're constantly fighting a battle you can never win. The emotional ups and downs drain your energy, and you may begin to wonder if peace is even possible. But the Stoic practice of acceptance and detachment offers a powerful way to reclaim your inner peace, no matter how chaotic your external environment may be. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, our thoughts, our reactions, and our choices, while letting go of the things we cannot control, like the behavior of others. Acceptance doesn't mean resignation or giving up. It means finding peace within ourselves, even in the most difficult circumstances. Now let's talk about a fundamental Stoic principle, amor fati, or the love of your fate. One of the central concepts of Stoicism is amor fati, which translates to love of fate. This principle encourages us to embrace everything life throws our way, not as something to endure, but as something to love and accept. It doesn't mean you have to approve of harmful behavior or stay in toxic situations. Rather, it's about accepting the reality of the situation as it is, without resisting it. For instance, imagine you have a family member who constantly criticizes you. Instead of fighting against their criticism or feeling hurt by it, amor fati teaches you to accept that this person's behavior is beyond your control. You cannot change them, but you can change how you respond to them. By accepting the situation as part of your journey, you can find peace within yourself, without being shaken by their actions. Next, let's explore the power of detachment. Emotional detachment is another essential Stoic practice that can help restore peace in toxic family relationships. Detachment is often misunderstood as indifference or coldness, but in Stoicism, it's about freeing yourself from the emotional turmoil that other people's actions cause. It's about separating your sense of self-worth from the approval or disapproval of others. Detaching doesn't mean shutting yourself off from love or avoiding family altogether. It simply means that your peace is no longer dependent on the actions of others. You can care for your family without letting their behavior dictate your emotional state. This is where Stoic practices like mindfulness and focusing on your internal thoughts come into play. Imagine a scenario where you're in a family gathering and someone starts criticizing your life choices. Rather than feeling hurt or defensive, detachment allows you to observe their words without taking them personally. You acknowledge their viewpoint, but you don't let it affect your emotional state. You remain grounded in your own values and your own sense of self-worth, unaffected by external negativity. Now we move to the role of acceptance in finding peace. Acceptance, in Stoic terms, is the ability to acknowledge the present moment as it is, without wishing it were different. It's about surrendering to what is and releasing the inner struggle that comes from wanting to change things beyond our control. In toxic family relationships, this means accepting that you cannot change your family members, their behavior, or the past, but you can control your reaction to them. Take, for example, someone who is constantly criticized by their parents for their career choices. The constant disapproval can feel overwhelming and may lead to feelings of inadequacy or resentment. Stoic acceptance teaches us that while we cannot control the criticisms, we can control how we internalize them. By accepting that these criticisms are a reflection of their views, not a reflection of our worth, we can maintain our peace. Let's get practical now and look at how you can apply Stoic practices in your daily life. It's about taking these timeless principles and using them in your own situations to build resilience and find peace, no matter what life throws at you. To put Stoic acceptance into practice, here are some actionable steps you can take. Number 1. Practice mindfulness in the moment. When you find yourself feeling triggered by a family member, take a moment to pause and breathe. Acknowledge your feelings without judgment and remind yourself that you have the power to control how you respond. By practicing mindfulness, you create space between the external event and your emotional reaction, allowing you to choose a calm, measured response. Number 2. Shift your perspective with amor fati. When facing family challenges, try to reframe the situation using amor fati. Instead of viewing the difficulty as a problem to be solved, see it as an opportunity for growth and acceptance. What can you learn from this situation? How can this moment help you practice Stoic virtues like resilience, patience, or emotional detachment? The more you embrace life as it is, the more you'll find peace within yourself. Number 3. Detach from the need for approval. Remember that your worth isn't tied to the approval of others. The Stoic principle of indifference teaches us to detach from external validation. Whether or not your family members approve of your choices doesn't diminish your worth or value. By practicing detachment, you free yourself from the emotional chaos caused by others' opinions, allowing you to stay true to your path. Number 4. Develop emotional resilience. Emotional resilience is the ability to bounce back from setbacks and remain steady in the face of adversity. When dealing with toxic family members, resilience is key to maintaining your peace. The next time you find yourself emotionally triggered, remind yourself that this moment doesn't define you. You have the power to choose how you react, and by practicing Stoic acceptance, you can develop the resilience to face future challenges with grace. In toxic family relationships, peace often feels elusive, but the Stoic practices of acceptance and detachment offer a pathway to reclaim your inner tranquility. By embracing what you cannot control, accepting what is, and detaching from emotional turmoil, you can restore peace and protect your mental and emotional well-being. The beauty of Stoicism lies in its ability to empower you to find peace within yourself, regardless of the chaos around you. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing inner calm over external conflict. It's a powerful tool for finding peace in the midst of family turmoil, allowing you to live in harmony with yourself, even when the world around you feels anything but peaceful. In conclusion, toxic family dynamics can be emotionally draining, leaving us feeling lost, conflicted, and powerless. But by embracing Stoic principles, we can reclaim our inner peace, no matter how challenging the relationships around us may be. Stoicism offers us a path to not only survive these relationships, but thrive in the midst of them. We began by acknowledging the impact that toxic family members can have on our mental and emotional well-being. The constant drama, criticism, and negativity can weigh heavily on us, affecting our self-esteem and overall peace of mind. But Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control: our responses, our reactions, and our thoughts. This is where the power of acceptance and detachment comes into play. By accepting what we cannot control, such as the actions of others, and focusing on our ability to control our reactions, we regain power over our emotional state. Through the practice of amor fati, we learn to embrace all experiences, even the painful ones, as opportunities for growth and inner strength. Detaching emotionally from toxic family members helps us preserve our peace and avoid getting caught in their emotional chaos. This allows us to stay grounded and focused on our own well-being, rather than being at the mercy of their behavior. Another powerful tool Stoicism offers is the ability to set boundaries, prioritize self-respect, and break free from people-pleasing. By understanding that our self-worth does not depend on the approval of others, we gain the courage to protect ourselves and live authentically. Stoic wisdom empowers us to let go of toxic relationships, not as an act of rejection, but as an act of self-care and self-respect. Remember, true peace comes from within, and by practicing Stoicism, we can achieve this peace regardless of external circumstances. We have the power to create a life that aligns with our values, surrounded by supportive relationships, and free from the burden of toxic family dynamics. Now, I want to hear from you. What toxic family dynamic have you overcome? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe for more Stoic wisdom to help you navigate life's challenges with resilience, peace, and clarity.